When I do that, you should get a message at the top of your screen letting you know that I am recording the meeting. I'm supposed to let you I'm recording the meeting, and that way everyone's aware. So I don't know if you've already noticed, but there's some pretty awesome new stuff that's already happened with Microsoft Teams and virtual meetings since maybe you were last here. And maybe you were just last here Friday and you're like, what in the world? There's already new stuff. And some of you who are regulars with Microsoft Teams already have noticed it the very first thing when you logged in today. For those of you who are brand new, this session is for you. So whether you've been using Microsoft Teams, you're going to see some new features that are just now available starting today, some that we saw come out Thursday and Friday. But for those of you who are brand new, it might be new to everyone. So just to get an interactive pulse check, if this is new to you or you just haven't done a lot of sessions, you could just type out new. If it's something you've been using a lot, you can put you're a veteran user or been using it, just so I can get a little pulse check on the group, kind of see where we are. Are you new, or maybe you're a veteran to Microsoft Teams? You've tried it out now a few times, been using it, and that way it kind of lets me know what our group is like. It's always helpful being interactive. If you've been using this with your students, you're trying to find different ways where it's just not you doing all the talking, but other people giving you some feedback too. It kind of helps me know everyone's still alive and participating. So looks like we have kind of a mixed group of new folks and stuff that are using it but still learning, and that's the truth. I definitely agree with Colleen. I will tell you what, every time I get on this thing, it's something new, and I get super excited about it and can't wait to contact my friends and be like, oh my gosh, did you see this new feature? So we're going to definitely go slow. It's going to be a lot of just the basics, but as I go through, I'm going to pick up on some hot new features that might be new to you. So I'm going to start with just kind of getting us started, and I'm going to share my screen. Anything that I show you today, I'm actually going to go back and you'll be able to see how I do that. So if you're like, wait, how did you share your screen, or how did you do those features? We're going to really take this step by step. So first thing I'm going to do is share my screen. Good, everybody should kind of see my desktop, and I'm pulling up my PowerPoint. I really just want to go over a couple of notes with you so you know what we're doing today. And I'm going to share this with you. If you want it, great. If not, you can ditch it, but I'll share this with you as well. So basically today we're going to focus on three things when it comes to hosting a virtual meeting. This is with students, because the last time I did this, the focus was really on students. But really, you could use this if you're meeting with students, if you're meeting with colleagues, parents. It really doesn't matter. All of the features I'm showing you can be used with anyone, whether they're in the organization or not. So if there's someone that is a parent, they're not a part of the dd2.k12.sc.us email organization, that's okay. You can invite anyone, outside vendors, really anybody can participate. So our three topics are going to be how to create a meeting and how to share the meeting, and then some management tips. So those are really the basics of what we're doing today. A lot of people ask, well, what are the devices that you can use? So you definitely, obviously, can use your computer. If you have a parent vendor, someone says, well, I have a MacBook, will it work on that? It does. It does require you, though, if you're on an Apple device, like a MacBook, iPad, iPhone, that you do have to install their application, and it kind of prompts you through it. So if they're like, well, where do I get it? It will prompt you to go get it, and then you can install it. So it will work on any device, and it also will work on your mobile device. Now, I'm an Apple iPhone user, not to say you can't get this app anywhere, but the Microsoft Teams app. So just kind of pulse check also in the chat. If you have the app, go ahead and tell me if you do in the chat. Anybody have the Microsoft Teams app? You can just be like a yes or no if you have it. Maybe you have it on your mobile device. So we're getting a few people. If you don't already have this, this is great homework for you. If you're a smartphone user, you have an iPhone or a phone where you can download applications. And if you're like, heck no, I'm not doing that because my phone is personal, well, that's fine too. But for those of you who want to do it, the Microsoft Teams app is pretty great. So I'm just going to show you really quick. I'm going to see if I can meet screen mirror here, see if it'll pop up for you. Let's say, I think I have like 1,000 things happening in my background. So let me minimize this. Minimize this. All right, so I have the Microsoft Teams app. You can see it to the bottom right, and I'm just going to select it. But you can see it already knows that I have a meeting that's supposed to happen. So if I'm on the go and I have a meeting at the top, if I just hit join, I'd be joining in on this meeting that we're on right now. And just the functionality of this app is actually pretty awesome to navigate. You can see these are all of my teams. I can jump in through my activities, my chats, assignments, all of my files are on here as well. So if I wanted even to, if I have a file on my OneDrive, I can get to everything super quick. So it's even easier than the OneDrive app I have because it's like all in one. So anyway, I kind of dig the Microsoft app. If you don't have it and you're interested, you should definitely check that out. So that was my little commercial plug. It kind of buys me a little time for everybody to get online with us, test the audio, make sure everything's good. And now we're going to get started. So we were talking about our three topics that we're going to focus on today are creating a meeting, sharing that meeting, and management tips. We talked about that you can usually do this on any computer or mobile device. And our focus today is going to be starting with how do we create a meeting? So I'm going to just kind of jump around my screen and go to different places, and you'll be coming right along with me. So the first place that I'm going to start when it comes to creating a meeting is over on my left sidebar. Over on this left side, we've got choices, activity, chat, teams, assignment. Here's calendar. So I'm just going to click on that one for a minute. And when it comes up, I basically have a regular calendar. At the top, there are two choices, Meet Now and New Meeting. If I wanted to jump into a quick meeting right now, just do it, I would just select Meet Now. And that would bring me to a meeting, and I could easily type in the name of someone and get started and have a meeting. I do that a lot when I'm just need to ask someone something quick or show someone my screen, or I need to meet with them to teach them how to do something. Also, Meet Now is great for testing features out by yourself. If you're ever like, well, I don't really want to mess up and I want to just try it by myself, here's some homework for you for after the session is done and you get some free time. Just go into the calendar and select Meet Now. It's a little boring. You'll just be there by yourself. But the nice part about it is it's a comfort zone for you and you can try out all the features I'm going to show you all by yourself. So getting yourself all spruced up for your camera and adjusting your audio settings and just making sure you know how to navigate. So Meet Now, fun to do by yourself, better with other people, of course. And then you can test out with a friend. And that's kind of a good place to get started is just in the Meet Now. So those are great for quick calls, quick video chats. Meet Now is the way to go. But most of you, when you're scheduling a virtual team meeting, you're going to go to the top up here, and there's 17 ways to do this. This is just one. I'm actually going to show you 3 today, but this is one. And at the very top, it says new meeting. You'll notice to the right of that is this drop down arrow. And there's 2 choices, schedule a meeting and live event. If you've been participating in the afternoon for our 3 o'clock sessions on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we do live events. And the difference between these 2 meetings are a live event allows you to do something kind of like Facebook-ish, where you're having a live event. I could invite tens of thousands of people. Basically, it's everybody listening to the presenter, and the only thing you can do is interact with Q&A. You get no video, you get no audio. It's really one-way delivery for the most part, with the exception of Q&A. Scheduling a meeting is really what you want to do when you're with your students, parents that you're trying to chat with, vendors, or your colleagues and you're trying to have a meeting. So most of the time you're going to schedule a meeting. Live event is going to be great for the principal who wants to do a huge faculty meeting. It might be great, and you don't want to have to control audio and different settings that are on your meeting, although I'm going to show you some tricks to that today. But live event is really good for something big. If Mr. Pi wanted to do a big event, live event is really the way to go. Board meetings, that would be the way to go. Like live event is great for something huge that's happening that you want to share with a lot of people. So I usually advise folks, I say, if you're going to have meetings that are like over 25 people and there's not a lot of two-way interaction, go with a live event. If you want to have two-way interaction, you want to see everyone's chat, ask questions, monitor, stop, pause, scheduling a meeting is best. So working with your students, parents, colleagues, scheduling a meeting is where you're going to go. So two ways I can do it. I can click here on schedule a meeting, or I can double click anywhere on my calendar. So we're going to go ahead and practice doing one. And the very first thing that comes up is it wants us to add a title. So I'm just going to go ahead and put test title. Meeting with your third grade students, whatever you want to put in there would work. Here's where I'm going to add my required attendees. Now, you wouldn't necessarily add student names to this, but what you could add here are your colleagues' names. So you just can start typing them in, and as you start to type, you'll see that they'll show up. So I just start doing L Hayes for Lara Hayes. It'll start popping up for me, and I can continue to do this, and names will continue to pop up. Now, as I do this, usually people ask me, well, why is Lisa's name pink and everyone else's names are white? Why is that showing like that? And so the reason that I wanted to show you that was because I wanted to point out that if they are a pink name, that means they're probably involved in some other meeting on their calendar. Their calendar is showing them as being busy during this time. So I might need to touch base with Lisa and say, hey, do you have some other meeting, or are you going to be available during this time? Or I could try to change the time of this meeting and see if she's not. Oh, that time works perfect for her. So today at 6 o'clock, I've invited my 3 colleagues to join me for a meeting. I could keep adding people if I wanted to. The next question that often comes up here is, can I just type a distribution list of names? I have all of my parents, or I have all of my colleagues all on a distribution list. I don't want to type their names out one at a time. I'll show you a different place to add distribution lists when we do that. But in this case, you have to add people one at a time at this particular section of invitation. So if you only have a few people, no problem. You can just add them pretty quickly. Parents, whoever it might be. You put your time in, you can make a decision if it's going to repeat. Usually I don't have mine repeat because I don't want to have the meeting link still accessible for ongoing meetings. So if I'm going to do this with kids or something, I typically create a new invitation each time. The other option I have is add a channel. Now, this can be very fun if you already have a team created. So for me, I have a DD2 ITS team. You might have a class that is listed as in your channels. Most of you who teach classes will have those. If you work at a school and you're don't have class rosters, no worries. You're probably a part of some sort of school team. And this is where you can add that group, that team. So for the ITS team, if I can't just select this name of my team, I have to select general or a subgroup of that team. So this is where I would say, I just want to meet with this group at 6 p.m. tonight. So if I had my class of 4th graders, or I had my class of my Algebra 1 students who were in my first period class, I could invite them, but I can only invite one channel at a time. So this is actually super helpful if I'm in a role where I'm inviting members of my school. So if I was someone inviting members of the school, I would just click on my school general team and everyone would be a part of this team meeting. So that would be kind of helpful. If you are a 3rd grade teacher, you only teach one class, you don't share classes and have like an A or a B, that would be helpful here. If you know you want to meet with just one particular class, again, this is super helpful. For those of you who are like, well, I kind of want to meet with all of my 8th graders at one time. Well, this isn't really the way to go then, because you cannot have more than one class in this channel section. All right, moving on. Now I can add a location, and here's where I can add some details to the meeting if I needed to add anything here. Then when I'm done with this and I'm ready and I've got my invitation set to go, I just hit send. Now this meeting is going to show up on my calendar. I can see it's kind of rolling. It's thinking, it's getting everything added. And then we're going to go back to this meeting and do some pretty magical things that are going to make this meeting even better from scheduling it. So I'm going to let it keep kind of going while it's cooking. I'm going to come back to the group here. I'm just kind of checking on things. Great. All right, things seem to be rolling just fine. Coming back to my calendar, see if it's on there. There it is. Took just enough time for it to cook and be ready. So let me get back to my calendar on the side. This is where we created that meeting, if you remember. Now it's showing up right here at the bottom, 6 p.m. And I'm going to click inside of this meeting, and now magical things have happened that weren't there a minute ago. So when we set this up originally, here's an area we didn't see before. This bottom section was not there. Also not there is the top section that says meeting options. That also was not there. And so when you click on meeting options, this gives you a few awesome things that are fairly new if you're just getting started to doing meetings. Let me make this a little larger for you so you can see it. Make my screen a little larger. There we go. So when I clicked on meeting options, and just to recap where that was, it's at the top right here. It says meeting options. This is what changes some features for you that were really kind of bugging us when we were creating meetings with kids and frankly some adults. One of them was who can bypass the lobby. If you joined on your phone or a device you're not really logged into with your login credentials initially, you probably had to get admitted to this group. So I let people in my organization, if you were logged into your laptop and you clicked on the meeting link, you got right in and you bypassed the lobby. Some of you had to go in the lobby, basically the waiting room, and wait for me to admit you in. In this case, I could have decided to let everyone willy-nilly come in, but this is kind of my way to control those outsiders that may want to try to jump into my meeting. So if I selected just people in my organization, then it would allowed me to make sure I admit those outsiders who are not logged into their laptop to be sure they really belong here. There's also two sections here that really only apply to people who have the phone number option added to their device. And I'll talk about that in a second, but basically that's when if you're calling in on a phone versus your computer, this is set to no. You should always leave it that way because most of you do not have the calling feature. That's a special education feature that we have. And so you would not even maybe notice that, but I will touch on that in a minute if we do have some special ed folks online that do have to create these calls. Basically, if someone calls in on a phone, you want them to bypass the lobby and jump in, not knowing who they are. It should always be set to no. You should want to manually admit them into your meeting. So leave that as it is. How about announce when callers join or leave? There's a feature where if someone's calling in from their phone on a phone number, it says something like, Cindy's just joined the meeting. Cindy's just left the meeting. And if Cindy's having trouble getting on and off, that can become very annoying when you're trying to present, constantly hearing those noises. So I always say no. I'm not even sure who even would want that, but it should always be on no, I think. And who can present? So this is the one that's really important to change. So if I am the only one who should be presenting in the meeting, this is where you switch it from being the default of everyone can present. That means your kids are muting people and kicking people off and sharing their screen and doing all kinds of things that drive you nuts. So if you're like, no, I don't really think I want that, you want to set that to only me. You can also choose specific people. So if I knew that I was going to be presenting with someone, I could change that and just select someone's name. Like I want to present with Cindy. But in this case, I'm going to say only me and then hit save. That means that nobody else can jump in and cause havoc. So I kind of like that setting being done. I'm going to go back to here. And so to get there again, all I did was once I created my meeting, I went to meeting options and that's where I found it. But there's other cool places that are kind of new that I'm going to show you where you can find meeting options in case you forget that. But I just did want to tell you that that was there. All right, so the other thing we pointed out was once you created this meeting and you scheduled it, you got some cool features that are located here down below. And look at here, here's meeting options again. Just when you couldn't get away from it up at the top, here it comes back down at the bottom again. So one other place you can get to those options to make just yourself a presenter. The other part that's here and that's nice is this part right here, join Microsoft Teams meeting. This is awesome because basically this is the URL that goes with the meeting. where you can invite really anybody as long as they have the URL. So what a lot of teachers often do, and if this is you, go in the chat and say it, are you one of those teachers who takes the link and puts it in Clever? I know I have a lot of teachers who usually take the URL here and they post it on their Clever page so that their students have easy access to this Microsoft Teams meeting. So I'm just going to check the chat and see if you're one of those people. Is there anyone here who has put it in Clever before as an easy way to do that? Oh, I see Amy takes the URL and she emails it to her parents. If they can't find it, some people have put it on Dojo, some people have. So I'm going to show you how to do that so that you know how to take this URL and post it somewhere. And really, it's kind of the same concept for everything, just it's the same idea. So if you post it anywhere. So I'm going to go to calendar. And if you remember, here's the appointment that we have. And here's that link, join Microsoft Teams meeting. So whenever you schedule any one of these, this link right here is unique to that meeting. So all I'm going to do is right click on that, the purple letters, I just right click and I say copy link. Now, for those of you familiar with Clever, you've seen this before. If you're not familiar with Clever, we have videos on this. The big takeaway I want you to know is that you can post this URL any place you want for easy access for your parents and students. So like Amy Baldwin, she was like, yeah, I just email that link to my parents. Perfect, great idea. Some of you do put it in Clever. So the way to do that, if you're in your Clever page, I'm using my friend Elizabeth's page, I just logged in and I'm going to click on Elizabeth's page. Now, these are all links that Elizabeth has added herself. Now, in the bottom right of my screen, it says add, and I'm going to choose link. I'm going to do this kind of quick because the idea is I want you to know it can be done. Now, I already copied it, so I'm going to do a Control V, and all it did was paste that URL, super long, pasted it right there. So now I need to give it a title, meeting link. And I'm going to upload a little icon so it'll be cute for my kids to see so they'll know what to look for. So I have two icons. I have this one, which is my Microsoft Teams icon, and this one that's a little meeting icon. Kind of looks like a computer with people talking. So I'm going to use that one today. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of small. I don't know, maybe I'll switch to a new one later. But basically I just select that, and that's all that I have to do to add those particular links. I just say add link, and now my meeting link is going to show here for my kids. So when they log in, they always know where to go to get the important things. But what I could also do is I could advise them to put the little heart, and when they heart it, it ends up in their favorites. So when kids log in, whether you're in kindergarten or you're in 12th grade, it's basically the top of your list, your favorited items, and your meeting link can show up there. And what I usually see teachers do is they go to edit, and each day or each time they have a new meeting, they paste the new link in the window here and just select to save. So they always have the latest meeting link, and their parents know every Tuesday at 9 a.m. we're going to meet as a group. And so just go there and click on the link and they get there. If you have another idea of ways that you have done this in Clever or shared with your parents, you can certainly add that in the conversation chat for other folks. Again, the big idea about this, I'm going to delete this link so Elizabeth doesn't have it on there for her students. The big idea is you can take those links and you can share them with people. So just like Amy had said, she goes into her mail and she sends the meeting link to her parents. And so I'm just going to Control V again. I still have that meeting link. I hit enter, and now it's this hyperlink that I can share with parents. So that's kind of nice. The other part too is if my parents are in a distribution list already, it makes it a lot easier to share if I already have that distribution list. So I've got my link, I'm sharing it with my parents who have lots of different emails, they're not in our organization, and then I can just put something like this, join us for our meeting link. And then I could explain meetings at 9 a.m. and blah, 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 blah. You can do the rest. If you really want to jazz this up to put a little special spice onto it, the last thing that I would do is maybe hover over this link, right click it, only because this bothers me, it might not bother you, and I select edit hyperlink. And I don't like the text at the top to look like that, so I usually just say something this. Now it looks a little bit better. So again, all I did was right click over it and edit hyperlink, and this top bar is the part you could edit to make it look prettier than a huge long link that takes up your whole page and doesn't look so snazzy. So now I could send that meeting link to all of my parents and they could click on it when they want to. Just know anybody who has that link can forward it to anyone in the world, and anybody really can get on your email on your meeting at that point. But at the end of the day, I mean, the more the merrier if they want to join you, I suppose. I don't know why they would want to if they don't belong there, but it's an easy way to give the link to your parents, easy way to get the link to anyone who's outside of our organization. But also, if some of you have students that are, middle and high school, you have their personal email addresses, you want to email it to them that way. That's, if you want to do that, you could. So lots of different ways to share this link. I'm going to show you another way to share that link. So thanks, that was a great tip from Amy. Let's show another way that you can do this. So I'm going to go over to my Teams, and there's another way to share this link with your group. So I'm going to double click here, and I'm going to go to my DD2 Instructional Technology Specialist so I can take a look, see what's happening in here. And if you noticed earlier, if you remember, we added this channel. Remember, we added the general channel, the DD2 ITS general channel to that meeting at 6 o'clock tonight. It automatically, when I do that, it posts in my team. So that's another way where as soon as I did it, it automatically is in here. Everyone should know you just come here, 6 o'clock. We're always having our meeting 6 o'clock on Monday. If they just click on this link, it'll bring them right into the meeting. So I didn't even have to do anything. It's already there because it was the way I set it up in that calendar when I created the meeting. The other thing you can do with a shortcut is the last piece before I move on to something else, and a commercial for DD2 Online PD. This is where you can get all free online PD 24/7. Lots of recorded stuff is here. But if you visit the Online PD channel and you were to visit our posts look like this when we're going to have a live PD session. And here you'll see this is exactly where I've copied and pasted in an announcement how to put these links in. So this is kind of, if I pulled the cake out of the oven, what it would look like. I've posted an announcement in my channel for everyone to see. I made sure I selected who I wanted to see it, this whole group, and I've also put some text in that I've hyperlinked. So how do I put that in? For example, if I just wanted my first period algebra class to get the message, I would click here, come down to a new conversation, and I always like to select this capital A for formatting. When I do that, it allows me to change it from a conversation to an announcement. This is just sprinkles on top. Doesn't really have to do with the virtual meeting, but since we're here, I might as well show you. So I can make a meeting link announcement so everyone can see meeting Monday at 6. Here's where I can say and if it was my algebra class, I could type in the name of that channel. In this case, I'm going to type in the name of my channel. Here's Clever Champion. That way everyone who's a part of my Clever Champion channel would get that announcement. If it was your first period algebra class, everyone would get the announcement. Your 4th grade homeroom, everyone would get that announcement. And I did that by typing in and typing in the name of that channel. So whenever you want to talk to someone, that's kind of a fun way to do that. They'll get that notification. And then here's where I can put in that link. Remember, we talked about putting in that link and how that looks. In this case, it looks a little bit messy, right? There's a lot of stuff in here and it looks a little busy. So if you didn't want to do that, you could definitely put in some text about meeting link. And then you could hyperlink it this way. Okay, so up at the top, I can highlight it and I can put in that link again. So again, just another way to take text and turn it into a meeting link that's easy for your students to get to. So just one last time, I just typed in some text. Might say click here at 6 p.m. I highlight it I come up to this little link icon, it says insert link when you hover over it, select it, and then Control V, as V as in violin, allows me to paste it in and select insert. Each of these are now links that would bring me to my meeting. Okay, so those are just some fun ways to share the meeting invite with other people. Let's talk about one last way that you can do a meeting invitation. So just to recap, we've already been to calendar and we said you could have a meeting by just selecting meet now and typing in names of friends you want to meet with. You could also do new meeting where you schedule a meeting, and that's where we went through the steps and we created a meeting invite. Remember, you won't see the purple words that say join a meeting until you invite someone and hit save. If you try to create the meeting and don't invite anyone, it'll never give you the purple words. It'll never make an actual meeting for you unless you invite someone here. I tried that a few times, couldn't figure out why I wasn't showing up because I never invited anyone. So you do have to do it, can't trick it. Okay, so that's two ways you can do a meeting. The other way, so I kind of think is the simplest way, even if you don't even know where your Microsoft Teams icon is, if you can get to your regular old calendar, I'm just going to delete the stuff that we had from before. I'm in my regular email. This is my regular email business. You guys all know what this looks like. Mine might look a little busier than yours because I have added extra things on it, but this is my regular calendar. This is the number one easiest way to create a Microsoft Teams meeting. Here it is. You just go down to your calendar on the bottom left side. Hopefully we've all been here before. Here's our regular calendar. All I'm going to do is I can double click anywhere in my calendar that I want to, or at the top, you've probably never even noticed this was sitting there, but you have this icon that says new Teams meeting. It's actually sitting up there with all these other things that say new appointment. So I'm going to click on new Teams meeting. And when you do that, it automatically, oh my gosh, look at this, brings us these purple words we love, all this stuff that we need, it's all right there. So we're going to make a team meeting, and I'm going to say that this is my meeting with 7th grade parents. And I have a distribution list of all of them. So I'm going to invite all of my parents. We're just pretending that they're all my 7th grade parents. It was easy. I had my distribution list, but I also want to invite some of my colleagues to attend with me. So I'm going to invite them as well. So you can manually type in people from your organization. You can add distribution lists from people who are in or out of your organization. When I say organization, I'm talking about people in Dorchester 2 employees who have a DD2 email address. So I can invite anyone. I can invite Uncle Fred there. I can invite the parents, guardians, whoever legally should be attending these meetings and might want to be a part of this. So I could put them as required or optional, wherever you want to put them. If I had student email addresses, I could put those in here. Really, anybody can get the invite at this point. It doesn't matter if they have Microsoft Teams, none of that matters. You send the invites like anything else. It's like sending a Zoom meeting, a WebEx meeting. It's the same exact thing. So at this point, I'm going to do a meeting for tomorrow at 6, not for today, but for tomorrow. And it automatically says my location is a Teams meeting, so I don't have to do anything. I'm not going to make it recurring. And here's where I can put in some details of the meeting. Tell people about what's going on, blah, blah, blah. Click the link below. So it automatically is giving you the same link. Here's that same link that I could use if I want to right click and copy that hyperlink, and I could put it in my Clever. I could put it on a website. I could put it, obviously I don't need it in an email. It's right here. So that would be silly. But if I did want to post it somewhere else, I could do that. So I don't really have an option to invite those channel groups. So if I wanted to do this meeting through here, I could post this on my Microsoft team and channels. But if you're someone who's like, I just want to invite some colleagues, a parent, a few students, I want to use a distribution list, this is like the number one easiest way to set up a meeting. This is the way to do it. You also have meeting options that is located below. Remember, we already talked about that. Make yourself a presenter, nobody else. You can change that later. I'm going to show you those tricks in a minute. And for those of you in special ed who have had, this is an extra pay for service, that's why you're seeing this phone number show up. And that's for people who are inviting parents to go to those special ed meetings and such. There is a fee to it, so that's why not everybody gets it, because obviously we have 2,000 staff members and that would be a lot of people to get it, and some monthly service. So there are about 4 accounts minimum at every school that leadership and special ed have if that's ever needed. So it just allows parents who don't have access to a computer to be able to call in, phone in to meetings. So we do that specifically for IEPs and other meetings. So there are people on your team who have access to that if a parent doesn't have access to a computer. Side little commercial for that, just so you're informed. Your big thing is that you get this link right here that anybody can click on to get to your meeting. So as soon as you're done, you're ready to go. And I'm just going to kind of take these people out so I can send it. They automatically get that invite. It's on the calendar. If I want to double click on it, I want to add more people to it tomorrow. I forgot to add someone. No problem. Go in there, add whoever you need to, change the time if you need to. No worries. You still have that shortcut. It's that URL that's going to get you to the meeting every time. You're also going to get those pop-ups that come up and say to you, hey, do you want to join the meeting? It's about to start. I really like that piece too. In fact, if I double click on the meeting that we're on right now, you'll notice at the top, it doesn't say anything about creating a meeting or editing it. It knows the meeting is happening now. I can just click on it right here. Or again, I could click on the purple words. So if you've got that calendar invite sitting on your calendar, definitely easy to get to it. All right, so those are the basic ways to get yourself creating meetings. Now, the next thing we'll do is take a look at all of the features that meetings have to offer. So before we do that, I'm just going to glance into the conversation, into the chat, and see if there's anything else showing up. So someone sends an email. We talked about that, using it through the Outlook invite. Yep, Melissa Odom. Easiest way to do it. She already knew that. She posted a while ago. Good. Sharing the word for word how a kid did it. Okay, awesome. All right, so sending the invite, number one easiest way is going to be through your old school Outlook, right? You just go in there, you click on the calendar, and at the top, you're going to select that you want to Teams meeting. So this is just a regular the calendar invite. As soon as I do that, I automatically get that URL that I can share with anyone. And I can go ahead and email anyone that piece. I've actually emailed it to myself on my phone, and then I've taken that URL and even text messaged it to people who like really couldn't figure it out. I'm like, okay, if you can't click on this from a text message, you don't deserve to be in this meeting. But anyway, that's just my own personal problem. Moving forward, okay, looks like we all know how to schedule the meeting. Outlook, we can go to calendar, and also we had the meet now. So let's talk about some of the cool new features that are available, or features, they're new to you. Everything might be new to you. But you'll see most of these features when you hover over your screen with your mouse, you'll start to get this toolbar, right? But we can't go much further unless we just go ahead and address the Brady Bunch situation we have on our screen today. So if you're super excited about the fact that you can see more than 4 faces, I'd like to see some cool emojis showing up right now in the chat. So let me know how you feel about it. And some of you are going to be like, I want to see all 35 of their faces. I know that would probably be nice too. You can still see more faces down below. Just these are the faces that either had some chat recent, or they're usually your most recent people. They could be the last ones that kind of came on. Good. I'm glad you're all feeling some happy emojiness over having these more icons, because before, if you didn't know this, you could only see 4 people on the screen at a time, kind of based on whoever had the last interaction. Now everyone complained, I want to see more faces. And so now you get to see 9 of them. And I'm going to show you how that happened, because we need your help to get more cool features. The features I'm going to show you today are all features that you guys have said you wanted in the last 2 weeks because of voting that happens. And at the very end, I'll kind of be like my grand finale. I'm going to show you where you can go to see some of these things, suggest features, and vote for others, because those that get the most votes get done the fastest. This one obviously had the most votes because every teacher in America wanted to see more than 4 adorable faces. So they at least decided they have at least 9 faces that they want to see at a time. So maybe they'll make more. But let's talk about some of the other cool features that are here. So as I hover over my toolbar at the bottom, hopefully you see where I am. I've got the red hang up. I don't want to click that or this whole meeting will be over. At least I'll be gone. You guys could stay for the after party if you wanted to, but I would end up hanging up. So let's look at this first one, show participants. So if I click on this one to the far right, it's got the little people icon. You can see that I have over on the right hand side, I can see everybody who's attending and I can see my presenters. Now, if I wanted to, I could say, oh, here's my colleague Cindy. She's presenting with me today. I'm going to hover over her. I get the three dots and you'll see I can make her a presenter. So this is going to say, this is going to affect who can share content and who can mute people and remove people and admit people from the lobby. It's like, are you sure you want to give this person these most powerful rights? And as soon as I say I do, she shows up at the top. So now if we're co-presenting, it can be kind of nice because it's a little bit easier for her to share her screen, take over things, unmute people, if I wanted her to do that. When I'm done with her doing that, I could do three dots again, and I could put her back to being an attendee. I also could just remove her altogether. So if you have one of those students who are like not participating, they're, I don't know, things happen. Maybe you got to remove them. You don't know who the person is. Just select remove participant and they'll be gone. The other choice you get really for anyone is pin. And pin is helpful if you have someone who is, maybe a student is presenting a PowerPoint, but other kids are kind of asking questions also about it. You want to be sure that student is pinned and they're not leaving the visual space, because I want to see their PowerPoint. I want to see what the guest presenter, student or guest, is presenting, versus when other people start talking, their image tends to start taking over the screen, right? So that's what pin can help you to do. Test that with students so you can see if you like that feature or not. But anyway, that's how you change someone from being an attendee to being a presenter or vice versa. So those are some of the features you can use with your participants. All right, my super favorite thing I got so excited about today when I saw this, because I did not notice it last week. Someone said it was there Friday, but I didn't see it. But up at the top, there are now three choices. One, I could close out this pane so that we wouldn't see it, but these two are the awesome ones. So the one in the middle, I can download an attendance list finally. So if I click that, it'll populate. It'll take a while to show up, but it'll actually show up in my downloads. When I select my folder at the bottom, I've practiced this a lot of times, but anyway, I can get an attendance list. Before, I was taking screenshots of who showed up, but that attendance list shows you when they entered and when they left. So when they joined and when they left. So which to me is important, especially if you have a ton of people you're trying to keep track. Suzanne could have gotten on here in the first 5 minutes, and if I took attendance, she could have left already, and then she gets credit for the session. Although I know, Suzanne, you're going to stay on through the whole thing, so I'm not worried about you one bit. But it's good for your students if you're trying to figure out who attended that day and you just don't want to take all this time handwriting stuff down. So downloading that attendance list is definitely a cool feature. The other feature that's to the left of it is manage permissions, and manage permissions is the same thing as meeting options. They really should have called it meeting options. I'm a big stickler about naming things the same exact thing all the time. Anyway, if you forgot to set who can present, just click on that, quickly change it, no problem, get back to your meeting, and you're back in business. So if you forgot to set yourself as presenter only, you meant to do it, manage permissions, click on it, make the change, save, you're good. Download your attendance list, and it doesn't matter if everyone's gone from the meeting. When I download the attendance list, it picked it up from beginning to end. So that was good. So that's my participant list. Let's take a look at a couple more things because I know our time is coming to an end. Here's our show our conversation. Lots of you got very good at this. So I see that people have already done some chat. It's always fun to find someone's chat, and you can hover and then you can give them like a thumbs up or give them some love, or you can save this message. When I'm presenting with someone, if I'm like, oh, I got to save that message, I want to look at it later. Also, you could select immersive reader if you wanted to, so you can change the language and the look. We'll take a look at that in a minute. Or you could email those. Okay, so if you set to only me, can the students still talk? If you don't mute them, but I have the ability to mute you. So I guess you can unmute yourself, I suppose. I don't know. I'm not going to ask everyone to do it because that'll start some chaos, but I will ask Amy, are you able to unmute yourself? Clearly she can. Okay.
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Okay. So I can go back to participants and I can say at the top, mute all, and it'll say this will mute everyone in the meeting but you. I believe it still allows you, Amy, just you, if you would, to unmute herself, and I think she can. Let's see.
Yes, it worked.
Okay, very good. So you can quickly mute everybody if you want to. Now, there are some notifications in other places where you can mute them all together and they can't unmute themselves, but then they can't chat either. So it's like kind of like a bummer. But I will say later in the voting features I want to show you, it's a feature where you can mute people permanently and then they can never talk or chat. But if you're going to do that, you might as well just do a live event if it's going to be one-way communication, because you kind of have to teach them how to behave. So look how good you guys are doing. We haven't had any issues, knock on wood, just yet. Let's talk about some more of those features that are down here. So at the very bottom where you have type a new message, don't forget you've got some of these icons down below. That first one with the A really kind of lets you see some of these extra bonus things like bolding something, italicizing, highlighting something. So, and look, you do the three dots, you're always like, three dots are always a surprise to me. You never know what's going to appear in here, but look at all this great stuff, hyperlinking something. So lots of great stuff that's in here that you can do. So in the beginning of your meeting, you could have some rules for your students, some etiquette, mute yourself, make sure you do these things. Here's the link to the PowerPoint presentation that I want you to have. So just know that you can do some of those things. I'm going to go ahead and just practice that really quick. Link, and then you could kind of paste in if you had a link that you already wanted to put in where your presentation might be. So just some quick things I wanted to show you there. I don't want to spend too much more time on that. Here's where you could do that attachment. You could upload it from your computer, get it from OneDrive. I'm just going to go here really quick, coming down to if I wanted to share some of these icons with you, or I just wanted to share with you the notes for the PowerPoint from today. And I can just hit send, and then you'll all get that presentation also. So just a quick way to kind of recap and get to all of those things. All right, so the next cool feature is the raise your hand. I don't know if this is new to you, but it was new to me last week. So if you want to practice this, see what it looks like. If you want to go ahead, raise your hand, just click on that. You'll see the little hand will come up. Most people were using things before like emojis for kids to say, hey, I have something I want to share. I want to tell you something. Now they've incorporated a raise your hand, which means if I see the hand showing up, look at my icon, how I get those notifications. It's telling me I've got 5 notifications in my people participant list. So I can come over here. And this is where I would normally say, Kathy, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. I can see that you have a question. Cindy, I see that you have a question. And then after I've called on you, you can go on your 3 dots and you could lower your hand if you would, or you can come over to the side where the icon is and just click it on and off. You can kind of see how it comes on and off. So raise your hand, brand new feature, love that. Great, easy way for you to take questions from people. So I'll use that at the end, actually, for those of you who verbally want to share questions. And I always say, raise your hand is a better feature if you know this is too much to type in the chat. I got to talk this out with you verbally. And so we'll use raise your hand at the end. So practice unraising your hand, lowering your hand if you would, just so you know how to get to that. And then I'll come back to you and ask you if you have a real question at the end. Coming down to the very last few things, let's go to the 3 dots. Lots of features that are here and some fun features. So if I wanted to stop recording this meeting, I would hit stop, and I would then share this meeting with all of you that participated today. So those of you who participated, I will send an email so that you can get to it. You'll just click right on it and go. And then I'm going to work on making a quiz that goes with this so that I can add it online so that other people can watch this at their leisure if they want to. Keypad, I really don't use this for anything. I have yet to come up with something wonderful. If you have a great idea for a keypad, please put it in the chat. I'd love to have one. I have 0 right now. Turn on live captions preview. So if you do not have a very thick Southern accent, this will work like a charm for you. It's great for accessibility, and if you speak loud and clear and you don't speak too quickly, you'll definitely benefit from using this feature here. So turn off and on live captions is actually available in just about everything. Even PowerPoint has it. So the point where you can even change immersive reader. If you don't know what that is, check out that session. You can change language to like one of like hundreds of different languages that would appear here. So even if I was presenting in Spanish, you would know what I was saying in English and vice versa. So some cool stuff that happens with that. So that's the captions, live captions. And if you have a camera attached, I know most of you are probably saying, well, my computer doesn't have a camera. I know. I bought one for like $29. It's a Logitech one. Yes, your computers in the future will have cameras. We've heard you loud and clear. New computers for teachers is supposed to be spring of 2021. Could be earlier. I don't know. But that's when we're up to get new computers. Yes, we want you to have a camera in them. But if you do have one, you'll have this feature that says show background effects. And when you do that, you get some pretty cool background effects. You get this one, it'll kind of blur your background so you don't have to see my messy house behind me, or if I have people walking behind me, you don't really see them. But it also has some of these fun backgrounds as well, where you can select one of these, preview, apply. And actually, you can't see what it looks like, so I'm just going to apply it so you can see what that looks like. But there's lots of cool backgrounds, and they actually have a way where you can put no background. You'll be able to upload your own background. I know everybody was like, well, on Zoom you can upload your own background. Well, this one, it's coming soon. It's one of those features coming soon. I'm just glad it can look like I have a nice clean house and no one has to know. Or you can choose the classroom, and there's other classroom features too. I think this was one as well. So anyway, fun new stuff on here when it comes to backgrounds. Definitely check those out. You won't see it as a feature if you don't have a camera attached. If you're like, well, how do I get a camera? Well, I guess you could buy one, use it towards your 250 if you wanted to. Ask your school. Some of you have IPBOs, have Hue document cameras. You might want to get your hands on one of those if they're available. Also, what even works great are iPhones, iPads. If you do your meetings that way, you could see people and use that feature. But like I said, it's not a requirement. It's just kind of nice that you have that. You can also show your meeting details. This is again where you can get that hyperlink, copy the join info. This is just that quick URL for you to get to. And you also have an option to show device settings. If you're ever having trouble with your speakers or your microphones, this is where you go to adjust that. So 3 dots, show device settings, and this is where you kind of come to these drop downs and you toggle between different things to figure out, why is it that my sound doesn't sound good or I can't hear anything? This is where this is all coming from, is this particular area. And let's see, that might be all of the things that I have to show you. So in the 3 dots, also earlier I did sharing. If I hit stop sharing, you would not see my screen anymore. But once I select this square, it's usually square and arrow, that's what allows you to share your screen. So if you click that, it will pop up with a menu of choices. And the first choice I always choose is to the far left. It's desktop. If you choose one of the other things, it's going to keep you in that window, which means if you choose PowerPoint, if you choose window 2, that's all the kids are going to see, which is fine if you don't want them to see as you jump around other places. But for me, I've gone to lots of places all over my computer, and you've gone right with me every time. So if you're going to do sharing, square and arrow, choose the choice to the far left, and that is just your desktop. If you choose that, whenever you see the red bar around your screen, that red bar indicates people can see your screen. So if you're ever not sure, can you guys see this? Can you see my screen? If you have the red bar, I know you can see my screen if you're in the right place. So that's how you share your screen. Of course, you have the ability to mute yourself and turn your camera on and off. You'll also see that I am recording it, so that timer is keeping track for us. And we also have closed captioning because I have my captions on for us. When we save these meetings, they typically go along with the captions as well. So it's nice when you have that feature. All right, friends. It's like 1:57. It's time for us to end. I'm going to stay on the line a little bit later. You're welcome to stay on with me. If not, it was a pleasure having you here today. If you have extra questions, put them in the meeting chat and hang on with me, or keep them there and I'll email you with the response. So thanks for being here today. We'll see you next time. let's check out some of these questions for those of you who are going to stay online with me. Okay, so the recordings are in the meeting chat. They are typically in the meeting chat, so you can go over to the meeting chat on the left-hand side of your toolbar. And if you see where we are kind of talking and engaged together like this, over on that, I should give it a title, so it'll be easy to find, but you'll find that recording listed right over there. Absolutely. Good job. Let's see if we have something else. Jumping back here. Any other questions? Great. Kind of looking up here. Yep, so it'll be available in the chat, but I'll also email it to you just in case. KeyBack can be used for math class, that's true. Will it post the answer? Yeah, it kind of just works as a calculator. So I guess it could. All right, thanks, and thanks. Okay, great. All right, I'll hang on in case anyone has a unique question they'd like to hang on for. Okay, I see Mr. Woods and Gloria. Any personal questions you want to ask or just hanging out? The other thing that's on here too is end meeting. So it's a great new feature when you want to be sure that you are closing out the meeting and nobody else is kind of hanging on for those after parties. You just hit end meeting and everybody gets kicked out. Okay. So your party doesn't have to end, but you do have to find another place to have it. So I'm going to click end meeting. See y'all next time.